videos when I say it's not for kids, and I learned that just means it doesn't like put my videos in kids' profiles like on their timeline, or what is it called, in their feed, in the recommended feed. But there's a further restriction in the settings where I can say no one can watch it unless they're 18. And I had thought that by clicking on the select audience that it's not made for kids, that it was automatically age restricting my videos when it's not. So there's another setting I would have to do. I don't plan on saying anything in this video too crazy or anything to where I need to do that. But there probably are some topics that, well, I don't think you got to wait until you're 18 to hear about some of these topics. I think some of these topics, you're ready at like 13, 14. I think you're ready to learn about certain things before you're ready to do them. You know, you need preparation. Like before you're able to vote, you should already be getting taught some politics, you know. Before you're able to drink, you should already know that alcohol exists and know its negative effects and even positive effects. And all about so much, but really this time of year, even if like we're in the fall, even if they were to lose all their leaves, it wouldn't be a death sentence to the trees. I haven't seen any leaves blow off of them, but it's looking rough back there. I bought 8 blueberry bushes and 2 peach trees that don't require a lot of chill hours, the Florida King peaches. And I don't feel like I spent any money. I feel like the money's still there, you know. The money I spent is still there in the asset of the peach trees and blueberry bushes. And then there's some risk associated with it because, I mean, they could die. I don't think they will, but it could happen. But for the most part, they can be resold for the same value I just bought them. It's not like buying a car where you take it off the lot and now it's lost its value. Those trees are still worth what they were worth when I bought them. And they will get bigger and be worth more money over time. Now, I could make a lot of clones into me and save the time. You know, and I just think it's a great way to spend part of my labor. Instead of just, you know, it's a little more than $150. I think it's like 156 something. I got a receipt. And I remember going to my great-grandparents' house and picking blueberries. And my granny souls would make all kind of jellies. And they had several different fruit trees and fruit bushes and stuff. And she would make, you know, grape jelly and blueberry jelly and all kind of different jellies. She'd buy fruit too, but you know, she grew a lot of her own food too. At least while they were younger. I mean, when they got really, really, really old, that's when they start eating more processed foods being brought to them because they can't cook anymore. It's when they go from a fruit diet to a blueberry Pop-Tart diet. But anyway, I remember those are old, like ancient blueberry bushes. And they made a lot of food off of them. We'd fill our shirts up with blueberries, picking them, you know, fold the bottom of our shirt up because it gets so heavy with blueberries. And you know, this is me, my mama, my granny souls, 2 or 3 other ones of my brothers out there picking blueberries. And so I know that for several years, even after I'm gone, if somebody was to maintain and keep it up, this can keep producing food for people, and they will be worth their money. This $150, I will see $150 worth of food off these plants for sure. And even just cutting some branches and rooting some branches off of these trees and growing some trees off of these trees, and 3-4 years time, I could sell those trees off of these trees and get my money back and still be having the food production off of these plants. And not to mention, besides just cloning the branches off of these trees, the fruit, I'm not going to eat the peach seeds. Each one of those peach seeds, even though they would be a hybrid, a lot of them would be hybrid crosses from multiple varieties of peaches. The peaches that I'm using, I like the taste of those peaches. And it will just be another variety. That hybrid between the two will be another variety that can cross-pollinate back with those two or other varieties of peach tree. A lot of these fruit trees do not pollinate with their exact same strand. They need a different variety. And so as you allow them to hybridize, you get more and more varieties and you get more fertility. So, the thing about a seedling is you can't really predict exactly what it's going to be. So a lot of people don't like that. They want to work off of a known strain. But that's how the good strains get made. If you allow them to hybridize and nature to select upon them generation to generation off of your area and your land, you will make a variety more suitable for where you're at. So I think it's kind of, but you got to be willing to cull. You got to be willing to be like, okay, this tree is a bad tree. I'm not going to let it grow here forever. Let me replace it with a better variety. Same thing with breeding animals. You have to be willing to cull. You have to be willing to be like, well, if one comes born really in some kind of, you just know every now and then an animal will be born and it'll be like overly aggressive and stupid and maybe even deformed. I haven't really seen too many. I don't really practice incest over and over and over again in the breeding of my animals. So I think that's why I don't really have those problems. The worst that I've gotten out of breeding my own chickens is I've had a midget chicken before. All of the parents were big and it was just a dwarf chicken that come out really, really small. And that's because of one of the roosters, was a cross between some kind of small type of chicken, and it just, the first generation, its son, it didn't seem to be any smaller, but then it had some grandchildren hen that was like extremely small, which wasn't that big of a deal. I wouldn't have bred her for a meat chicken. She still laid eggs. The eggs aren't as big, but she don't require as much. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into all that. I know people who breed bulldogs and they bred the child back to the father and the grandchild back to the father, and then they had like a few of them dogs was retarded and aggressive. And I'm just saying it could happen. And you got to be willing to cull sometimes. Like when you're hunting deer, people want to get the good ones, but it's better to get the bad ones and let the population be healthier in the future. And